The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the quiet rhythm of deep space travel. Lieutenant Commander Freya Thorne pressed her forehead against the reinforced viewing glass, watching distant nebulas paint the void in colors that had no names in any human language. Behind her, the soft rustle of scales against metal reminded her she was not alone. "You seem troubled, little flame," came the melodic voice that never failed to make Freya's heart skip. She turned to find Mealtime standing in the doorway, her crystalline violet scales catching the starlight in a way that made her look like she was carved from living amethyst. The dragon woman stood nearly 8 feet tall in her bipedal form, her elegant wings folded gracefully against her back, the delicate membrane shimmering with patterns that shifted like northern lights. Freya managed a small smile. "Just thinking about home. Earth. It's been 2 years since I've seen real grass or smelled rain." Mealtime moved closer, her movements carrying that strange mixture of power and grace that all dragons possessed. "I have never understood this human nostalgia for water falling from the sky. On Draconis Prime, we celebrate when the rains stop." "That's because you're basically a walking furnace," Freya teased, reaching out to touch Mealtime's arm. The scales were warm, always warm, like touching sun-heated stone. "Some of us actually need water to survive." "I am aware," Mealtime said softly, her amber eyes reflecting genuine affection. "I have studied human biology extensively since we met. Did you know that you are approximately 60% water? It explains why you are so soft." Freya laughed despite herself. "Are you calling me squishy?" "I am calling you perfect," Mealtime replied, and there was no humor in her voice now, only sincerity that made Freya's breath catch. The dragon woman reached out with one clawed hand, touching Freya's cheek with surprising gentleness. "My soft, brilliant, impossibly brave human." They had been dancing around their feelings for months now, ever since the diplomatic mission that had thrown them together. Freya, a communications specialist from Earth's United Coalition. Mealtime, a scholar and noble from one of the oldest dragon houses in the Andromeda sector. Their worlds could not have been more different, yet somehow they had found in each other something neither had known they were missing. "Mira," Freya whispered, using the nickname that only she was permitted to speak. "We need to talk about what happens when we reach the Nexus station." The dragon woman's expression shifted, her protective membranes flickering briefly across her eyes, a sign of distress. "We will continue as we have been. Working together, supporting the Alliance, ensuring peace between our species." "That's not what I mean, and you know it." Freya stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating from Mealtime's body. "Your family expects you to return to Draconis Prime. To accept a bonding with one of the noble houses. And my contract with the Coalition ends in 3 months. They want me back on Earth for reassignment." "Then we refuse," Mealtime said simply, her voice taking on the resonant quality that signaled her emotions were rising. "I will not bond with someone I do not love, and you will not return to a planet that does not appreciate your gifts." "It's not that simple," Freya protested, though her heart soared at Mealtime's words. "Your mother is on the High Council. My refusing reassignment could damage Earth's standing in the Alliance. We have responsibilities." Mealtime's tail lashed behind her, striking the deck with a sound like a thunderclap. "I have spent 300 years fulfilling responsibilities. I have studied the languages of 40 species. I have negotiated treaties that saved millions of lives. I have been the perfect daughter, the perfect diplomat, the perfect representative of my house." Her voice dropped to something almost dangerous. "But I will not be perfect anymore if it means losing you." The declaration hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Freya felt tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by the intensity of emotion in Mealtime's gaze. She had always known dragons felt things deeply, burned hot in all things, but experiencing it directed at herself was something else entirely. "I love you too," Freya said quietly, the words feeling both inadequate and necessary. "I have for months now. Maybe since that first day when you corrected my pronunciation of your name and then apologized for being rude. This made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. You were butchering it terribly. Like you were trying to swallow a stone. You were so patient, Freya continued, moving even closer until there was barely space between them. Everyone else on the ship treated me like I was fragile, like I might break if they breathed too hard. But you challenged me. You expected me to keep up with you, to be better, to learn. You made me feel capable. Because you are capable, Meredith said fiercely. You are extraordinary, Freya Thorn. In all my centuries, I have never met anyone who burns as brightly as you do. Your lifespan may be shorter than mine, your body more fragile, your world smaller. But your spirit matches anything in the cosmos. Freya reached up, standing on her toes even as Meredith lowered her elegant head. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft and fierce all at once, and Freya felt the temperature spike around them as Meradiz's emotions manifested physically. She did not care. She would happily burn if it meant having her, even for a moment. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Freya rested her forehead against Meradiz's snout. So what do we do? Run away together? Become space pirates? I look terrible in an eye patch. Meredith huffed, smoke curling from her nostrils. We do what humans do best, I think. We find a third option that no one else has considered. We change the rules. That sounds suspiciously like something that will get us both in a lot of trouble. Probably, Meredith agreed, her eyes gleaming with something wild and free. But I find I no longer care about being proper. Not if it means having you by my side. Before Freya could respond, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Lieutenant Commander Thorn and Scholar Meredith, please report to the command deck immediately. We are receiving a distress signal from an unknown vessel. The two women exchanged glances, their personal crisis momentarily shelved. Duty called, as it always did. But as they hurried toward the command deck, Freya felt Meradiz's tail curl briefly around her wrist, a gesture of affection and promise. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The command deck of the Celestial Harmony buzzed with controlled chaos when Freya and Meredith arrived. Captain Ren Voss, a grizzled veteran from the Centauri colonies, stood at the central holographic display, his weathered face creased with concentration. Around him, the bridge crew worked their stations with practiced efficiency. What have we got, Captain? Freya asked, sliding into her communication station with the ease of long practice. Signal came in about 10 minutes ago, Voss replied, gesturing at the hologram. A three-dimensional representation of local space rotated slowly, a small red beacon pulsing at its edge. Source is approximately 6 light hours away. Message is fragmentary, but we've managed to clean up enough to get the basics. Play it, Meredith commanded softly, moving to stand behind Freya's station. Her presence was warm and solid, comforting even in uncertainty. The speakers crackled, then a voice emerged from the static, rough and desperate. This is colony ship Wandering Hope. Systems critical. Life support failing. 47 souls aboard, mostly human with some Dracarii refugees. If anyone can hear this, we need immediate assistance. We cannot hold much longer. Freya's hands flew across her console, running analysis on the signal. The encryption is old. Really old. Captain, this broadcast is using protocols that were discontinued 20 years ago. The Wandering Hope, Meredith said slowly, her scholarly mind already working through possibilities. I know that name. It was part of the first wave of colony ships that left Earth during the expansion era. But it was declared lost with all hands 15 years ago after it failed to arrive at its destination. Voss's expression darkened. So either we're dealing with ghosts, or someone has been lost in space for over a decade. Or it is a trap, offered Navigator Finn, a cautious young man from Europa. Pirates have been known to use false distress signals to lure in rescue vessels. The signal includes human and Dracarii life signs, Freya reported, her fingers still dancing across the console. Medical scanners show elevated stress indicators, malnutrition, signs of prolonged exposure to radiation. If this is a fake, someone went to extraordinary lengths to make it convincing. Miratisa's clawed hand rested gently on Freya's shoulder. Can you establish two-way communication? Already on it, Freya replied, adjusting frequencies and boosting the signal strength. Wandering Hope, this is the Starship Celestial Harmony responding to your distress call. We are approximately 6 light hours from your position. Please respond if you can hear this transmission. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. Freya held her breath, watching the communication readouts for any sign of response. Behind her, she felt Mealtime tense, the dragon woman's protective instincts clearly activated. Then, crackling through layers of interference, a new voice emerged. Female, young, trembling with what might have been hope or fear or both. Celestial Harmony, we read you. Oh stars, we read you. This is Nora Kelwick, acting captain of the Wandering Hope. We thought we were going to die out here. Please tell me you're real. Freya's chest tightened at the raw emotion in that voice. We're real, Nora. We're coming to help. Can you give me a status report on your situation? Our main drive failed 3 months ago, Nora said, her words tumbling out quickly as if she feared the connection would drop. We've been adrift ever since. Life support is down to emergency reserves. We have maybe 48 hours of breathable air left, and that is if we keep everyone in cryosleep except the essential crew. Captain Voss leaned over the tactical display. 6 light hours at maximum speed. We can be there in 11 hours, but that is pushing the engines hard. Then we push them, Mealtime said firmly, her voice carrying the authority of someone born to command. 47 lives are worth the risk to our machinery. Voss nodded slowly. Agreed. Helm, set course for those coordinates. Engineering, I want every spare bit of power diverted to the engines. We're running hot. As the ship hummed with increased activity, Freya kept the communication channel open, establishing a steady link with the Wandering Hope. Nora, we're on our way. Tell me about the Dracarii refugees you mentioned. How many are aboard? There was a pause, then Nora's voice returned, more hesitant now. 7. Their families, mostly. Fled their world during the civil wars. The original captain, my father, he couldn't turn them away even though it meant straining our resources. He said that was what being human meant, helping those in need regardless of the cost. Miratisa's hand tightened slightly on Freya's shoulder, a gesture of approval and solidarity. Your father sounds like he was a good man. He was, Nora said softly. He died 4 years ago when we hit an asteroid field. Half our crew did not make it. Since then, we have been trying to keep everyone alive and find help. But space is so big, and we are so small. Freya blinked back tears, professionalism warring with empathy. You did the right thing, Nora. You kept broadcasting, you kept fighting. We found you, and we are going to bring you home. Over the next few hours, Freya worked with Nora to assess the Wandering Hope's condition. It was grim. The colony ship, designed to carry 100 people comfortably, had been stretched beyond its limits even before the cascade of failures that had left it drifting. Food stores were nearly depleted. The water recyclers were functioning at 30% capacity. And the radiation shielding had developed gaps that were slowly poisoning everyone aboard. These people have been surviving on determination alone, Mealtime observed, reviewing the data alongside Freya. It is remarkable that any of them are still alive. Humans are stubborn, Freya said with a tired smile. It's one of our better qualities. It is one of your many admirable qualities, Mealtime corrected gently. Though I confess, I wish this particular example of human resilience had not been necessary. As they worked, other crew members came and went from the bridge, each offering updates or requesting decisions. But Freya remained at her post, maintaining the communication link with Nora. They talked about everything and nothing. Nora spoke of her childhood on Earth, memories of green grass and blue skies that had sustained her through years of gray metal corridors. Freya shared stories of her own journey from Earth to the stars, the dreams that had driven her to sign up for deep space exploration. And gradually, Freya realized something. She was listening to a version of herself that might have been. Nora Kelwick could have been her if circumstances had been different. Both were young women from Earth who had looked up at the stars and decided to reach for them. The only difference was luck, the random chance that had put Freya on a successful ship and Nora on a doomed one. "We are going to save them," Mealtime said softly, reading Freya's troubled expression. "All of them. I swear it." Freya leaned back against the dragon woman's warm presence. "I know we will. I just keep thinking about how close they came to dying alone out here, forgotten." "But they were not forgotten," Mealtime reminded her. "They kept broadcasting, kept believing someone would hear them. And someone did. You did. That belief matters, Freya. Hope matters." 9 hours into their journey, the wandering Hope finally appeared on their long-range sensors. It was a battered hulk, scarred by impacts and patched with emergency repairs that spoke of desperate ingenuity. Sections of the hull were dark, systems long since failed. But at its heart, a small cluster of lights still burned, defiant against the void. "There she is," Captain Voss said quietly. "Let us bring them home." The rescue operation took another 6 hours of delicate maneuvering and hard work. The Celestial Harmony locked onto the wandering Hope with magnetic grapples, establishing an umbilical connection that allowed emergency supplies to flow to the damaged vessel. Medical teams scrambled to prepare for incoming patients. Engineering crews readied equipment to stabilize the failing colony ship. And through it all, Freya kept talking to Nora, keeping the young captain calm and focused. "We have established hard dock," Freya reported. "Nora, start sending your people through. Priority to anyone with critical medical needs, then the children, then everyone else." "Understood," Nora replied, and Freya could hear the tears in her voice. "Celestial Harmony, I do not have words for what you have done for us. Thank us after everyone is safe," Freya said warmly. "Right now, I need you focused. Can you do that?" "Yes. Yes, I can do that." Mealtime had moved to the docking bay to assist with the incoming refugees. As a scholar who had studied multiple species' physiologies, her knowledge was invaluable in triaging the wounded. But she made sure to keep a communication line open to Freya on the bridge. "The first group is coming through now," Mealtime reported. 3 humans, 2 Dracarii children with their mother. The little ones are frightened but unharmed. "The Dracarii family," came Nora's voice over the general channel. "Their names are Valera and her twins, Keth and Lyra. They have been so brave through all of this." Freya watched the docking bay feed on her monitor, seeing the small group emerge from the umbilical tunnel. The human survivors looked gaunt and exhausted, moving with the careful slowness of people conserving every bit of energy. But the Dracarii family caught her attention immediately. Valera was small for a dragon woman, her scales a deep green that had faded from malnutrition. She held her 2 children close, both of whom could not have been more than 10 years old in human equivalent. They wore makeshift clothes that had been patched many times, and their eyes were huge in their small faces. Mealtime approached them immediately, speaking in fluid Dracarii that Freya's translator converted in real time. "Welcome aboard the Celestial Harmony. You are safe now. Let me help you to medical." The children clung to their mother, clearly frightened by the new surroundings and strangers. But Valera looked at Mealtime with an expression that transcended language. Recognition. Relief. The knowledge that here, finally, was someone who understood. More survivors followed over the next hour. 47 souls, just as the distress call had promised. each one showing signs of their ordeal but alive, miraculously alive. The medical bay filled with patients, and the crew of the Celestial Harmony worked with focused dedication to help everyone. Finally, Nora Kelwick herself emerged from the umbilical. She was younger than Freya had expected, perhaps 25, with dark hair pulled back in a pragmatic braid and eyes that had seen far too much. She moved with the stiff gait of someone who had been injured and healed badly without proper medical care. Freya left the bridge, hurrying down to the docking bay to meet her in person. When their eyes locked, something passed between them. Understanding. Kinship. The bond of two women who had both chosen the stars and found very different paths among them. "You came," Nora whispered, and then she was crying, great heaving sobs that shook her thin frame. "You actually came." Freya embraced her without hesitation. "Of course we came. We always come. That is what we do out here. We find each other in the dark." They stood like that for a long moment, two humans holding each other up while around them the controlled chaos of rescue continued. Then Mealtime was there, her large form somehow gentle as she rested a clawed hand on each woman's shoulder. "Come," the dragon woman said softly. "Both of you need medical attention and rest. The ship is secure. Everyone is safe. You can breathe now." In the days that followed, the Celestial Harmony became a strange hybrid vessel, part starship and part floating hospital and part impromptu community center. The survivors of the Wandering Hope needed time to recover physically and mentally from their ordeal. The crew of the Harmony worked to integrate them, sharing quarters and resources. Freya found herself spending hours with Nora, helping the younger woman process everything that had happened. They sat in the observation deck where this whole journey had begun, watching the stars stream past while they talked. "I kept thinking someone would find us," Nora said one evening. "Every day for 15 years, I believed. Even when the rational part of my brain said it was impossible, that we had drifted too far from any shipping lane, that our signal was too weak. I still believed." "Why?" Freya asked gently. Nora was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Because the alternative was giving up. And if I gave up, everyone else would too. As long as I kept believing, kept us working toward survival, there was a chance. Maybe a tiny one, but a chance." "That is incredibly brave," Freya said. "I do not feel brave," Nora admitted. "Mostly I just feel tired. But also grateful. And guilty, I suppose." "Guilty?" "That we made it when so many others did not," Nora explained. "My father, the original crew, all the people who died to keep the rest of us alive. Why them and not me? It does not seem fair." Freya took Nora's hand, squeezing gently. "It is not fair. Survival never is. But you honor their memory by being here, by having fought so hard. They kept you alive so you could tell the story. So their sacrifice meant something." They sat in companionable silence after that, two women who had found common ground in the vastness of space. And watching them from the doorway, Mealtime felt her heart swell with pride and love for her human. Freya had such capacity for compassion, such strength of spirit. It was one of the 1,000 reasons why Mealtime had fallen for her completely. The relationship between Freya and Mealtime deepened during those recovery days. They still had not solved the problem of their diverging futures, but the crisis had given them perspective. Life was fragile and uncertain. The universe did not care about plans or propriety. Sometimes the only thing that mattered was who you wanted beside you when the darkness came. One night, Mealtime found Freya in the hydroponics bay, sitting among the growing plants that kept the ship's air fresh. The human woman looked pensive, her fingers trailing through leaves that rustled softly. "Cannot sleep?" Mealtime asked, settling beside her with careful grace to avoid crushing any vegetation. "Too much on my mind," Freya admitted. "I've been thinking about the Dracarii family. Valera and her twins. They are recovering well, Mealtime reported. The children especially have shown remarkable resilience. Yesterday, young Keth was telling me about his dream to become a pilot. Freya said slowly, what happens to them when we reach Nexus Station? To all the survivors? They have nowhere to go. The Wandering Hope was supposed to take them to a colony that probably does not even exist anymore. Mealtime's tail curled around herself, a sign of troubled thought. The official protocol would be to turn them over to the refugee processing centers. They would be evaluated, assigned temporary housing, eventually placed somewhere that could accommodate them. That sounds cold, Freya said. It is, Mealtime agreed. The refugee system is overwhelmed and underfunded. Those children could spend years in processing limbo, separated from what remains of their community. She paused, then continued carefully. Unless someone with sufficient standing were to sponsor them. Offer them placement within an established household. Freya turned to look at her dragon love, eyes wide. You cannot mean yourself. Your family already thinks you are making questionable choices by spending so much time with me. Showing up with 7 Dracarii refugees and 40 human survivors would be career suicide. Perhaps, Mealtime said calmly. Or perhaps it would be exactly what my family needs to see. That there are things more important than politics and appearances. That sometimes the right choice is the hard one. She reached out, cupping Freya's face with gentle claws. You have changed me, little flame. Before I met you, I would have agreed that the proper course was to follow protocol, to let the system handle things. But you have shown me that sometimes the system is broken, and the only way to fix it is to step outside of it. So what are you saying? Freya asked, her heart pounding. I am saying that we take the third option we discussed, Mealtime replied. We refuse to choose between duty and love. We make our own path. And if that means bringing refugees to my family estates and scandalizing the High Council, then so be it. I have spent 300 years being perfect. Perhaps it is time to be happy instead. Freya kissed her then, there among the growing things in the artificial garden of a starship. And for the first time since they had departed on this mission, she felt genuine hope for their future. The next morning, they presented their plan to Captain Voss and the senior staff. It was audacious and complicated and would require pulling strings and calling in favors. But it was also right. The survivors deserved better than bureaucratic limbo. They deserved a chance to rebuild their lives with dignity. To everyone's surprise, Nora Kelwick became their strongest ally. The young captain had found her strength again during the recovery period, and she used it now to advocate for her people. We have been lost for 15 years, she told the assembled officers. We have drifted in the dark, alone and forgotten. If someone is willing to give us a home, a real home, then I think we owe it to ourselves to say yes. Even if that home comes with complications. In the end, they made it work. Mealtime used her family connections to arrange for the human survivors to be placed in coalition settlements near Draconis Prime, close enough that the two groups could maintain contact. Valera and the other Dracarii refugees would come directly to House Mealtime's estates, sponsored by the Dragon Scholar herself. It was not a perfect solution. There would be questions and investigations and probably a significant amount of bureaucratic headache. But it was better than the alternative. As the Celestial Harmony approached Nexus Station, its crew expanded by 47 souls and its mission far more complicated than originally planned. Freya stood on the observation deck with Mealtime by her side. We really did it, she said softly. We saved them and found a way forward. We did, Mealtime agreed, her wing draping protectively over Freya's shoulders. Though I suspect the real work is only beginning. Are you scared? Freya asked. Of what your family will say, of how this will change things. Mealtime considered the question carefully. Terrified, she admitted. But also excited. For 300 years, my life has followed a predetermined path. Now, thanks to you, I am writing my own story. And I find that I quite like the character I am becoming. Freya leaned into her dragon love's warmth, feeling safe and cherished and braver than she had ever been alone. Together, they watched the station grow larger in the viewscreen, a bright beacon of civilization in the endless night. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they faced from disapproving families and rigid systems, they would face it as they had faced everything else. Together. Because in the end, that was what both species needed to learn. Humans with their short, bright lives and dragons with their long, measured existences. Both were stronger together than apart. Both burned brighter when they allowed themselves to connect across the void. And love, that most universal of forces, could bridge even the gaps between stars.